All right, let's unpack this. We're diving into a subject today that, at first glance, might just seem like it's about celebrity.
Right, another actor profile.
Exactly. But when you really look at the research, the articles, the reviews, the box office data, the conclusion is, it's kind of unavoidable.
It really is.
Timothée Chalamet isn't just an in-demand leading man. The sources are making the case that he is the definitive actor of this generation. Full stop.
That is the central thesis, and it's a high-stakes one. The analysis basically argues that his career isn't just successful, it's essential for understanding where cinema is actually going.
How so?
Well, his filmography isn't just a list of jobs, it's more like a deliberate roadmap.
A roadmap for what?
For how to perfectly blend that deep, unshakable indie credibility.
The kind that wins you awards and critical praise.
Exactly. With the sheer power needed to carry a massive, global blockbuster franchise.
So our mission today is a deep dive into 5 specific roles that collectively built this whole phenomenon. We're going to track the trajectory.
Right, from that quiet, vulnerable breakout through some pretty radical tests of his versatility, and then finally
to becoming the carrier of these enormous cinematic worlds. We need to figure out the DNA of his star power.
And what's so fascinating is just the speed. I mean, the speed at which this all happened.
Yeah.
Normally, an actor would spend, a decade proving themselves in indie films before anyone would trust them with a title role and an epic? Chalamet did it in about 5 years.
It's a completely compressed timeline. It sets a new bar.
It really does.
So let's start at the very beginning, right at the foundation. The moment he established that reputation for emotional rigor. Call Me By Your Name from 2017.
The reaction to this was, it was volcanic. It wasn't just the Oscar nomination. It instantly defined him by one specific quality, this immense, raw, almost painful vulnerability.
Yes. The sources all point to his portrayal of Elio as feeling just radically honest. This young man navigating first love, desire. It was all so fragile.
And the critics honed in on the how, the mechanism of the performance.
What do you mean?
Luca Guadagnino's directing style, with those long, lingering shots. It demanded that Chalamet communicate everything, all that internal turmoil, without any dialogue.
You're talking about that final shot, the close-up during the credits.
That's the one. It's basically a 5-minute exercise in sustained, nonverbal emotional exhaustion. And that scene became the shorthand for his entire persona.
So his power isn't in bravado, it's in accessible internal chaos.
Exactly. Vulnerability is a technical skill. That performance gave him what the sources call a credibility buffer. The critics trusted him from that moment on.
Okay, so he's got the critics on his side for depth. But to be a generational voice, you need more. You have to be relatable. And that same year, Lady Bird comes out.
And Lady Bird is absolutely key. It puts him right in the middle of the ensemble that really defined modern coming-of-age stories, especially with Greta Gerwig.
He plays Kyle, the cynical, pretentious high school musician, the cool guy.
The two cool-to-care love interests, yeah.
And the analysis suggests the genius of that role is how he takes this familiar trope, the intellectual bad boy, and just injects it with so much authenticity.
He really does. He embodies that mix of teenage angst, but also this undeniable sort of nervous charm. It speaks directly to Gen Z and younger millennials.
That feeling of being super self-aware, but also completely lost.
And this is where the bigger thesis starts to take shape.
Yeah.
Kyle is a smaller role than Elio, for sure. But his presence makes the whole film feel more authentic. It showed he could be the voice of youth without it feeling sanitized or Hollywood polished.
He felt real.
He felt real. So by the end of 2017, he'd done something incredibly rare. The critics trusted his depth, and the young audience trusted his authenticity.
Which sets the stage for the next move. He has to prove his versatility, right? You can't just be the vulnerable kid forever, or you get typecast.
He needed a pivot, a serious dramatic test.
And that's where 2018's Beautiful Boy comes in.
This was a huge risk, but one that paid off big time. It was a massive leap in range, pulling him way out of the romantic lead comfort zone and into really heavy territory of addiction.
And he's acting opposite Steve Carell, a veteran. He has to portray this whole grueling cycle of relapse and recovery.
And the sources don't just say he was good, they focus on the psychological rigor it required.
Right, because addiction on screen can so easily become a caricature.
But his performance was celebrated for its complexity. He had to show the devastation of the character, but also the sweetness and intelligence underneath that made his father keep believing in him. Such a fine line to walk.
So this performance solidified his versatility beyond any doubt.
Absolutely. Beautiful Boy proved he wasn't just the sensitive young man from a summer romance. He could handle dark, demanding, physically and emotionally draining roles. It opened up the door to serious adult dramas.
Okay, so versatility, check. But the next move is maybe even more revealing about his career intelligence, especially in today's Hollywood. Little Women in 2019, he takes on Laurie.
One of the most beloved romantic leads in all of literature.
A huge challenge. How do you take a character who's been played so many times across so many generations and make him feel new?
And the sources all agree that's exactly what he did. He successfully reinvented the romantic lead. He brought this fresh, modern energy to a period piece.
He didn't play Laurie as that stuffy, polite, Victorian guy.
Not at all. He gave him that signature nervous energy, that charm we saw a bit of in Lady Bird. He made Laurie feel impulsive, boyish, almost like he didn't quite fit in with his high-class world.
He made him emotionally accessible.
Which is so critical for the future of cinema. I mean, in a world dominated by remakes and adaptations, an actor who can inject fresh life into a well-known role is incredibly valuable. He made Laurie's longing and frustration feel totally recognizable to a modern audience.
Okay, let's just pause here and look at the ground covered. From the quiet intensity of Call Me By Your Name
to the generational voice of Lady Bird,
the raw depth of Beautiful Boy, and the smart reinvention in Little Women. It's like these four roles built the perfect foundation.
They did. And now we get to the ultimate pivot. The cinematic Everest that locked him in as a global superstar.
Dune, Part 1, 2021. This is where it all comes together.
This is the critical mass. Dune required Chalamet to take all of those skills he honed in indie films.
The internal struggle, the nuance, the vulnerability.
And apply them to the biggest possible scale. A sci-fi epic that had to launch a multi-billion-dollar franchise.
And the sources are very clear on this. The success of Dune hinged on him being cast. Paul Atreides isn't your typical action hero.
No, he's a reluctant messiah. He's a kid wrestling with fate and these terrifying visions. A normal franchise actor might bring the muscle, but Chalamet brought the necessary emotional fragility.
Think about that Gom Jabbar scene with the box.
Yes, it's a silent, internal test of endurance. It's about paralyzing fear, not a fistfight. The director, Denis Villeneuve, is relying 100% on Chalamet's face to sell that moment.
It's pure internal acting, just like in Call Me By Your Name.
But it's happening inside a giant spaceship in a massive sci-fi world.
And here's the really interesting part. The analysis argues that the vulnerability he built up in his early films is what makes the epic scale of Dune even work.
How so?
We believe in Paul's struggle because we already trust Chalamet's ability to show us depth. If Paul was just a stoic hero, the whole story about a reluctant leader being forced into his destiny, it would fall apart. His depth makes the spectacle feel personal.
Which is why the source is called Dune a landmark in modern sci-fi. That status is tied directly to him. He proves that high art, character-driven acting can anchor a massive commercial movie.
So when you put all five of these roles together, the intimate breakthrough, the generational voice, the dramatic test, the reinvention, and the epic franchise anchor, you see the complete picture. This is the new blueprint for stardom.
It's the required portfolio now. The sources argue you need this really unusual mix. Audiences want complexity even in their biggest movies. You need the critical depth of a Beautiful Boy,
The authenticity of a Lady Bird,
the adaptability of a Little Women, and the sheer scale of a Dune.
and he's done all of it while keeping his artistic integrity before he's even 30. It's staggering. His career proves the line between indie darling and blockbuster star is just... It's gone.
You have to be both. And his career shows that vulnerability is the new superpower. It's what lets audiences connect emotionally, whether the character is a kid in Italy or Messiah on a desert planet. He showed that nuanced acting doesn't just coexist with commercial appeal, it boosts it.
So the takeaway is clear. His unique blend of psychological depth, relatability, and success on an epic scale is why his filmography is so essential for understanding where cinema is headed.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought for you to chew on. If Timothée Chalamet's career, this mix of indie depth and blockbuster scale, is the new requirement for stardom, what does that mean for the next generation of actors? Has the price of entry just been raised that much higher?
Yeah.
Do you now have to master both the internal character-driven world and the external, spectacular one right from the start? Will new actors even get the chance to focus on just one track anymore?